Aloha, everyone. It's Carpa once again. This time I'm serious. I'm very serious. And the word serious is what I'm serious about. What exactly is serious? Where do we come off using the word serious in so many places? And I like to play with words. I like to think about a word all day long and mull over all the different meanings behind it. Not necessarily the root of the word, but how we use it. Especially in English, because it's fascinating how many different interpretations we can have for one word. So generally, I would say that the word serious is used to describe a situation that either A, we feel uncomfortable about, which would be such as so-and-so is dying, I'm serious, I'm being serious here, or, I might lose my job, or I need you to listen. You're being serious with your children because you need them to listen so they don't get hurt. These sorts of things. But are all these valid uses of the word serious? And moreover, how do we view the world? As a serious world or as kind of a joke? And I personally view it as a dream in a fun house, I guess. Every corner there's something to do. It's a matter of how you perceive it. And sometimes, if you've ever had the experience of waking up from this waking dream that they call reality and social life, normal life, if you've ever had that moment where you just look down at the ground and everything just changes. Everything looks the same. It's an indescribable feeling. It's something that they've tried to describe in Zen since time immemorial. I don't know, but it's that feeling that they call, I guess, Satori sometimes. And it's not quite enlightenment. And I find enlightenment kind of a joke word. It's kind of a catch-all to say, are you an enlightened person? Well, to what degree? How do you call yourself enlightened? And anyone who tells you that they are enlightened has probably missed the whole idea of what being enlightened is. I would say enlightenment is more of a state of unknowing, of constant unknowing and comfort with it, and therefore a removal of being serious about life. And I dug a little deeper in my mind and started thinking, why do people take life so seriously? And a large amount of people take God very seriously. And that could have a lot to do with it. Such as, God wants this for us, God wants this for me, and God wants us to do this and not do this, therefore we have to be very serious and maintain this way of life. Whatever it may be. And there is no consistent way of life that works for everybody, even within one church. But on the other end, the folks who don't take life seriously, some take that to too extreme as well. You have the folks that think that life is just play, and that there's no effort involved, and that they can just go feeding off the system, do all the drugs they want, have fun, abuse their bodies, abuse their minds. Now, that doesn't work either. Nor does it work to completely shut yourself off from all enjoyment in order to make sure that this life is done so perfectly. Because it's not an issue of religion, it's not an issue of philosophy, it's just an issue of what should be common sense, that if mankind does his part, things will fall into place for him. And when we see others that aren't living as well as us, we say, bullshit, these people are still poor, they're working really hard, and they're still suffering. And then we look over here and say, look at this guy, he hasn't lifted a finger, and he's got everything he could possibly want. That's the extremes. Those are the extremes. That's how it works. That rich person may be miserable, And those poor people that work all the time, they have dignity and integrity from what they do, and values and family, and they go home and they're happy with what they have. Not always, I'm using an example, but there are always going to be the extremes, but it doesn't mean that we have to live by that. And what I mean is that we see I think a lot of folks see the ascetics, and those are the folks who live with very menial amounts of food and gave away all their possessions, had no clothes basically. Some monks have thought you have to go to that extreme in order to do things right. You have to really just renounce everything. And then in your heart, you know that any God would want us to enjoy everything. You know, even in the Bible, I've given you the seed-bearing plants and herbs to use. You know, be fruitful, multiply, enjoy your life. However, on the opposite end of that, we see the greed factor, and we see these people who have this and this and this, and that are taking more than their share, and they appear to be doing okay too. So while the monk may yearn to have less and less, and other folks may think, well, since I don't want to be in the middle, I'm going to yearn towards more and more. It's either material life or no material life. That doesn't work either. It has to be somewhere in the middle. What we have to do in order to not take life so seriously is to step back and ask ourselves, why do we take it so seriously? And is there any reason behind it? Is it what we've been programmed to believe? Is it what our parents taught us? And many people had strict parents. I didn't, and I'm not one. And it's given me the I guess, ability to process things all my life without ridicule, without insult. And I'll be honest, while I've had some harsh issues happen in my life, I've had a damn good life. I mean, besides all the normal things that people have, plus people dying and things happening and house fires and all that kind of stuff, there was this freedom for me to allow to express myself, and so I never took life too seriously. And then when I got out of high school, everybody was so serious about going to college or what career people are going to choose, and for me, I just said, hey, I'm just going to let it ride, see what happens, and fall into place. I never set out to be a carpenter. It's what I do right now. However, I don't associate myself with just being a carpenter, because that would be taking that career too seriously. So that's kind of the point here, is to what degree do we take things seriously, and when do we know to let things go and to just kind of laugh them off. And on another note, and this is something I kind of wanted to cover in a separate video, but for those of you out there who have families who depend on you, you understand where I'm coming from when I talk about this. When you've gone for a certain way of life and you've renounced the need for the mundane, and you've seen through the illusion of this society, yet learned to incorporate yourself into it, when you've basically integrated yourself, which is what integrity is, it's integrating yourself with everything around you. And when you've done that, and you cease to see yourself as separate, your mental faculties change, and you start to process things differently, and the small things don't seem to mean so much anymore. Or should I say, what you used to think of as a big thing becomes a very small thing. And it's hard to explain that when you have people around you who take those things seriously, such as, let's say, credit scores, or whether or not this bill was late or something's going to happen. I've just let it go, all of it. None of it matters, but still I have to have a certain degree of caring about these things because my wife cares about them, right? And because they're important for my kids. So that's where I'm getting at. You can let all these things go, but if you have people that depend on you, it's a totally different story. Anyway, I better go. I can hear that I have company. So, I think it's my mom. Uh-oh. Peace.